I hope you can see us here in this part of the garden centre because we're surrounded by some trees and also some beautiful hydrangeas. But Trish is here as well too. You're over there. You're really blending in with the new uniform and everything,
I am indeed, yeah, the green and the green.
How are you keeping? You good?
I'm very good.
Great
now,
stuff.
as well as the green trees, we also have a lovely colour for your garden as well. I know last week we were talking about perennials, but this week we're talking about shrubs that give late colour in the season.
Yeah.
And here in front of us we have an abundance of...
There's a ball of colour. So there's a ball of colour.
Right.
So this is a big obviously flowering point of the season for the hydrangeas.
Yes, yeah, they flower from July up until about the end of October, and even at that time then the flowers that you see here now will change a lovely autumn colour, as in the reds and the winey colours. So I mean, they're fantastic, the hydrangeas.
Yeah, and very popular.
Very popular.
Yeah.
Like if you've got the rhododendrons and the azaleas in the garden, they all flower kind of April, May, and then there's nothing in your shrub bed.
Okay.
So the best thing to mix
to
complement them is your hydrangeas.
Okay.
Because if they finish, like some of the rhododendrons would finish kind of May, June or whatever, and then you have these coming on. So you have a constant flower from April up until the end of October in your shrub bed.
Ideal.
It would, ideal. And again now, the hydrangeas lose their leaves in the winter, whereas the rhododendrons and azaleas keep onto their leaves.
Okay, so so even after they have flowered, then and the leaves may fall off, the whole space won't look empty because of.
And that's again now why we always say it's very important to plan out your bed, plan out what's evergreen, what loses its leaves, what dies down in the winter, so that the bed doesn't look awful in the winter time. Because it's nice to have something cheery in your bed in the winter time when the dark days are there.
Yeah, God knows we need it sometimes.
Exactly. So I'm just going to go through a couple of different varieties and different types of hydrangeas that we have. Now, a lot of people probably will be familiar with the mop head or the lace cap. Now, when I say a mop head, I'm talking about a ball. You can see here the white one now is a perfect example of a mop head. It's got a big, huge white ball on it. Like that, the whole top of the shrub is full of flowers. You'll see the leaves underneath it, but you can imagine that as a big plant. Like hydrangeas can grow anything from 3.5 to 4 feet high, and the same in width as well. And they're just absolutely fabulous. Like there's no work with hydrangeas really. You're not out, last week we were talking about deadheading perennials and stuff like that. There's not. The flower as it is there now will stay in flower up until October. You'll have the extra couple of buds coming on then as well, and that's why it's so full in flower.
It's nearly kind of blocking out the sun in regards to for the other leaves and everything underneath it, really, isn't it?
Now that you bring up that, it's actually better off because if you've got the sun on the leaves the whole time, it'll actually scorch them. So that's why they say position of a hydrangea is very important then as well. It doesn't like to be in the full afternoon sun. So kind of a light dappled area. It does require some sun, so if you have the sun in the morning, that's quite fine. But it's the afternoon sun. I know we'd be hoping we'd be getting that.
Yeah, a bit more of it, absolutely.
More of it, but if you're a plant, if you're a plant, it is, and the leaf just gets burnt and it gets brown. So try to have the afternoon where it's dappled shade would be better. They won't do in dense shade. They won't flower very well in dense shade. So make sure that they're getting sun in the morning, shade in the afternoon, and they'll be quite happy. Soil conditions then is a lot.
Is the big thing. So and I find this fascinating in regards to hydrangeas, in regards to the type of soil depends on the colour of the plant.
Yes, exactly.
The flower. That's so, to me is amazing.
If you've got a peaty soil, as I was saying, the rhododendrons, azaleas,
we got our lovely blue over here.
Blue one.
So that in itself will tell you what type of soil you actually have.
A lot of people even coming in and going, God, I have no idea what type of soil I have. And I ask them, do you have any hydrangeas and what colour are they?
Yeah.
And then I'll know straight off as to what they have.
So the blue was the peaty soil?
The blue is the peaty soil, and the pink then, now this is a pink one, it's a lace cap one. It's just starting to come out where you have got kind of the greeny yellow bracts at the start, and then it comes out then into the deep pink flowers.
So it's like the pink starts at the edges, really.
Exactly, and it works its way in, and then it goes, and you can imagine that in the autumn time then it turns a lovely kind of crimsony colour, and it's absolutely fabulous. So the pink ones then, their soil type is limey or alkaline. So again now people want to go, I really want a blue one, what can I do? My soil is neutral, it's not very alkaline, but so the best thing to do with blue ones is to add a handful of iron. Now don't put it directly around the roots because the iron can actually burn. So what I would do then is mix it in with your soil, put some soil in around the roots and you have it. Or another thing to do is put a handful at the base and then put soil on top of it and then plant your plant, so that when the roots do get out, they will get into the iron.
So and that is again the other thing. So you could actually turn
Yes.
The colour?
Yes, you can.
And that would that be mid-season, or is this something you do at the start?
You do at the start of the season. At the start of the season. So you'll be doing that in kind of March. Now, if you have got plants in your garden already, hydrangeas growing, you could make up a liquid solution of iron and you could water it in around the roots of your plant in kind of March, and I do it then in about a month's time again. And that'll bring up the intensity of the blue, even if you've got a light blue and you'd rather it darker.
All right.
That'll bring up the intensity of the blue.
So the shades as well too. So the darker the shade,
yes, more iron. More iron. And then on the other side, then if you've got your pink, just add a handful of lime in when you're planting, and that'll give you the lovely pink colour then as well.
Okay.
Now on the other side then as well, if you were planting hydrangeas in pots, there's a different type of soil that you use. So it's ericaceous compost for your blue one, and in any ordinary multi-purpose compost then will do for your pinks.
Now I'd say it'd want to be a fairly big pot, because they are they are quite a substantial
They are quite
shrub,
big,
really,
so
aren't
like
they?
you would need a nice sized pot. Now obviously if the pot is kind of on the small side, it's not going to grow to its full potential. And again, like any pots, keep it moist and keep it fed then every couple of weeks so that it gets the nutrient.
So will that white one turn pink?
No, the white says white.
So the white
says white. So if that goes into your peaty soil or your alkaline soil, it'll stay white.
It'll stay white. Okay.
An odd time, what you might do is you might get an odd tint of a pink or an odd tint of a blue, but basically it does stay the white. So as I was saying before, that's your mop head, and this is your lace cap. Now your lace cap is just a flat flower. So that's actually just going to go out like my hand, really, and it's really flat and it's very dainty looking then as well. And they kind of float over the top of the leaves, really. That's what you go, and they're absolutely fabulous now as well. So they'd be kind of the two types that we have here at the moment. I also have in the garden centre, they're called paniculatus, where they've got the big, huge, long flower out of them. They come in whites, and there's another one, Pinky Winky. It's got little pink tinges through it. The names are something else.
Oh, you gotta love it. Whoever came up with those names, we're going to call it a Pinky Winky.
And you have the red one there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there was a red one here as well.
There's a red one as well. So there's all different colours that you can get.
Now this one hasn't quite come to
no, it's just a little bit
yet.
Later coming out in flower, but like you're only talking about a week or two later than these. So as you say, they're all the buds on them. So you can imagine when that comes out in flower, it'll be fabulous as well.
Beautiful.
Now I have another lovely one here. I think we've spoken about it before. It's called Runaway Bride.
Oh, we have. Well, we definitely mentioned it because it's one of those ones you would definitely remember.
Oh yeah. No, I actually was up in Bloom this year up in Dublin, and if anybody was up there, they would have seen them in big, huge pots, and they had 2 or 3 of them planted together. Oh my God, they were absolutely fabulous. If you want to see something that was, big or whatever, it's show-stopping. They're fabulous. Can be grown in pots or can be grown directly into the ground, and they're fabulous.
And how long would the flowering last on that one?
Again, now up until about the end of October as well.
Okay, so when the flower comes out, it stays again like that?
Yes, it does. You can see where the buds are coming out in it now, and eventually, like that, now it will cover all the plant as well. The leaves will be kind of down underneath it.
Yeah, because that was the one thing I was going to say, that it seems to be more in the middle of the plant,
of it, but no, it will lift itself up as well. Yeah, it will lift itself up. So they are a fantastic plant to give that extra bit of colour in the garden.
Yeah, and obviously it's as I said, it's the fact that they flower and stay for so long, and as you said, they can complement a lot of the other gardens.
They can, and there's no cutting or prodding or poking or
there's not a lot of work.
You just leave them at it, really. As long as they're in the right place, right conditions, they'll be fine. They don't like too dry of a soil either, because if they're in too dry of a soil, they tend to kind of crinkle up in the leaves.
Okay.
So if you've got a very dry soil, mulch it around with a good compost around it to hold the moisture into the ground. They don't like to be too wet then on the other side as well, so just nice and moist.
Yeah.
And they'll be fine then.
Fantastic. All right, now let's talk about what's behind us, Trish.
Yes,
because
I'm surrounded by trees.
we've come to the back of the garden centre here in Boyles, where we've got a fantastic selection of young trees.
Yes.
And for anybody, I guess, who is either trying to re-landscape their garden, or maybe they're just starting, or they've got an area they might want to cover, some of these beautiful trees. Now we have some ornamental ones, and we have some what have we got? You just talk to me here.
Well, like that now, I suppose, why do you plant trees or whatever? Where do you plant them? So basically trees give shelter to the garden, so it would be one of the first things that you'd actually plant when you're doing a garden. If you're in a more of an exposed place, you maybe put a line of trees up at the back where the fence is, so it blocks the wind.
The wind, yeah.
All the trees basically lose their leaves. but it's the framework of the branches which will filter the wind through out the winter time, which will break that breeze going in and to protect your plants inside then as well, that bit more.
And because we're in a coastal county, the wind can fairly pick up, so they're very handy to have,
again, depending on the size of your garden, like you've got large trees, you've got one there beside you now.
This is what I was asking. I was like, the massive one here is now obviously it's nice and small, but it's a beautiful oak tree, but it's a red oak.
It's a red
Rubra.
oak. Yeah, Rubra. Now that is absolutely fabulous in the autumn time. It's got really crimson red leaves on it. But that can grow anything up to about 20 metres. Yeah. So you're talking about 60 feet high.
You need a lot of space.
So you need a lot of space for that. So just to keep that in mind when you're planting what size of an area you've got. Whereas on the other side of you there, Alan, you've got a lovely.
Now this one is absolutely stunning, and you would see these a lot around the county.
Yeah, they would flower in May, but you can get tall ones of them as well, which can grow anything up to about 25 feet. Okay. But the one you have now is a weeping one, so it'll only grow to about maybe 10, 12 metres in height, and it weeps down. But the likes of that now is like a specimen tree. You wouldn't put a group of them together. You just have one on its own. And
that's, I think, where it works best on its own. Yeah, it definitely does, because I even just see, even in the picture that we have here, you can see it's surrounded by tulips, but it is definitely
it's
a statement.
It's on its own. And you can imagine the flower in that is lovely and pink. Whereas this one then, we're back to the large garden. It's a weeping purple beech. Now that is absolutely fabulous.
A weeping
beech.
Wow.
That is some statement tree if you've got a large garden. Again, on its own, it can grow anything up to about 20-25 metres in height, and all the branches of them are weeping down gracefully. And like there's a good width in that now as well. You could be talking anything about 15 to 20 metres of a width as well. So you really have to have a very large garden.
And the fact that it's weeping would probably add to it being good for protecting the rest of your garden from wind and stuff.
Because as you say, now with the beech, like even the beech hedging, it kind of holds onto its leaf a little over the winter time.
They stay brown and they stay
brown, and then it's when the new growth comes on, it pushes off that brown leaf on it. So
because you'd always hear them rustling in the breeze.
And beeches are lovely. Now they are slow growing. You're not going to get a 60-foot tree in 6 years.
Well, that's it, especially with the oak and stuff like that. You're not going to get too much.
A lot of the time as well, if people were buying christening presents or anything like that, or a child is born or whatever, it's lovely to plant a tree with them because it's growing as they're growing as well, and you'll always have it in the garden. So they are actually a lovely
do you know, actually, that's when my parents, when I was younger, when we moved to our house, we got the land off my dad's uncle.
Yes.
And together, myself, my father, and his uncle, we planted a tree together,
and it is
beautiful. It's outside. There's a little swing on it now at the back. The kids will play, and that's really nice. So it's a lovely sentimental one.
So that is lovely.
So what's the one there beside you? That looks a little bit more another colourful one.
A Hydrangeas or a hawthorn would be the common name for it. It's a pink hawthorn.
Pink.
Yeah. Now you would see the white hawthorn.
The white is very
ditches.
Popular,
So this is a cultivated form, and it's in pink. It's a nice small tree as well. It can grow 15 to 20 feet high. Usually you have the stem of it clear, and then you'd have the ball then on top, as it is in the picture card. It attracts the bees as well, which is good.
The hawthorns are very good for the bees.
So they're excellent for that. Again, now that it flower kind of around May time. But it's a lovely deep pink, and it's extremely hardy as well, because you were saying coastal areas. This would be one for a coastal area. Whereas the cherry tree that we were speaking about a few minutes ago, that needs the shelter. A
bit of shade, because the flowers would be blown off it very quickly, wouldn't it? Yeah. And we've also got a couple of ash trees back here as well,
Now the ash are lovely. You've got the yellow berried one, and you've got the red berried one. Again, now they're very hardy as well. Turn a lovely autumn colouring. Now with the ash trees, you've got 2 seasons. You've got the white flower in April, May, and then you've got the berry in the autumn time. And again, like they do attract the birds. It's nice to feed the birds with the plants that we have in the garden as well. The yellow not so much, so they'll hold on to their berry an awful lot longer. The red, the berry, or the birds do seem to go for them, but that's fine too. Now another thing as well, when you're planting your trees, it's very important to put your stake down.
Yes. Now the stake you have in your hand, for anyone listening on radio, is not a small one. You've got a good 6 foot. I'd say it's about 2 inches. And they're big, so that'd be for a good stake to put down for any of these young trees.
Exactly, because you remember, I know you're saying it's 6 foot, but about 1.5 foot, 2 foot of it goes into the ground, so it's bringing it down in size. better off to go with round rather than square, because if you've got the stem of the tree up against the square one, it's rubbing against the corners of it, and
it'll do damage.
Yeah, it'll do damage to the bark. So a nice round one.
And another thing that does damage is
the tree tie.
Is the tie. Sometimes when you can get it wrong, I know all about it. I have used the cable tie and I got given out to, and rightly so. So the proper tree ties.
One then, this is a rubber one.
That'll
expand,
and
it'll move, and it goes in one way. It's like the figure of 8, but check your tree ties at the winter time that they're tight enough because if you can imagine a tree stem rubbing against the bark, if it's not tied properly, and as we were saying, it just does damage to it. So make sure it's tight enough but not too tight, and as it's growing, maybe next year to loosen it out then as well, just to remember that. A lot of people think, can we plant trees this time of the year? You can, because they're in pots, so there's no problem with that. But it's no matter what you plant, whether it's a tree or a shrub this time of the year, if the conditions are warm, keep an eye on the watering of it for the first season. You don't have to be watering it every summer. It's just for the first season until the roots get established in the ground. And once they do get established, then they're able to look after themselves.
Excellent.
With trees then, just keep the grass away from the base of them then as well.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, listen, if anybody's looking for some beautiful colour for the hydrangeas, and what was the one in the front called again? The Runaway Bride. Do come in and check them out, and they're beautiful colour, and the trees are a staple, I think, in most gardens.
They are.
If you get a beautiful nice tree and you have the space, do make sure that you can get the right one. But obviously, talk to you, have a chat, and you'll sort it all out. That's it for another Kerry Garden Show here from Boyles and Killorglin. Thanks very much for everyone for listening, and of course watching on Facebook and YouTube. Until next time, from myself and Trish, happy gardening.